Well, hello everybody. This is Buff from Buff's Garage, and we are live for the episode 22 of Pontiac Power Hour, the ugly 80s. And before you guys start harassing us in the chat, I'm going to introduce my co-host, Punisher Lamont's Garage.
Hey, what's up, everybody?
And we will look through the chat.
I know some of these guys wasn't alive in the 80s.
Well, that's true. And some of them are going to say they remember it, but when they weren't even born yet. But we got Danny Boyd in the chat, Jeff Rowe from Two Hacks Garage. We got the Unfinished Projects with the Mopar No Car. I'm kind of with the No Car, but that's me. Sam Mount Ballistic says, always welcome Hunter. Say no to LS swaps unless that's all you got. He's told me that himself. JB's little shop is working but hanging out. ASO is here, Mr. Polo C4, who we are expecting a video from very soon. Got to get him to 500 for the No Name Nationals. We got that Fierro guy says he's actually early for once. We shall see if he sticks around for the trivia. It might be a little past his bedtime. Let's see. Mongrel's Garage all the way from Canada. Welcome, sir. Jason's Garage in the house. Mohawk 62. Mostly old parts. That seems like that's Mr. Ron Ward. Thank you, sir, for showing up. Alan's Cars and Stuff. Barrow's Garage. Oh, my gosh. We got Lars in the house. Testa Speed Shop. Wow, they are just pouring in. Dakota's Timeout is here. Huge Pontiac fan right there. Wendy English made it.
I love that Chevelle and Testa's picture there.
Oh, yeah. Colleen Tebow's in the house. Busted Radio Garage. Oh, the one-eyed cat. Don is here. And that's where we're at. We'll try to catch everybody else up as we go. Oh, let's see. What does Barrow's got to say? In the 80s, he decided to grow his hair out. Now he has to wear a hat because it's almost all out. Hey, he's been growing his hair since the 80s. That's basically what he's saying. But as Lars said, go ahead and hit that thumbs up. We appreciate that. It definitely helps our algorithm. Share this out. You can share it out now or after the show. We like to watch our views climb, and it, of course, helps us grow the show. Woo! Well, you're back from a trip last week. I'm back from a trip last week. How are things going for you?
Oh, good. Once I finally got home, although I did end up getting a cold from, being around thousands of other people, but
did you get the COVID?
I did not get the COVID, I don't think.
Okay. That's good. We don't want any of that because I'm pretty sure it's over and done with.
I've had it twice, it wasn't that bad.
Well, it's funny how you can wear a mask and get COVID, but then you don't wear a mask and you just get the regular cold, it's fine. I guess the regular cold can't get through the mask, but COVID can? I don't know. But anyway, I don't want to go too far into that. We're here to talk about the ugly 80s. Oh, look at that. Leighton Welding made it here. Good job. Thank you, sir, for jumping in. The cold vid. All right. So for you guys in the chat, if you were actually around in the 80s, tell us what your, let's say, favorite 80s Pontiac was. And don't just say, Trans Am, because that's everybody's. But what's your favorite 80s car that maybe no one else really knows much about? Two Hacks. Born in 79. Man, he's a pup.
Yeah.
Just a baby.
Man, I thought he was older than me.
Jeffro? Oh, well, I thought he was,
it's
12 with the height thing. I don't know.
It's because he looks so tall on camera.
That's what it is. Yeah. Oh, look at this. We got Lucas. I can't even pronounce that. Narbatovics. Awesome. 89 Grand Am, 2.3 quad 4 with a 5-speed. That's a pretty cool 80s car. Mongrels knows what's up.
Which
Bonneville
Fiero?
SSDI.
That Fiero guy.
Just any Fiero.
Because
Dakota's
some
got
was better
Trans
than others.
Am. I mean, I knew Trans Am was all about it. JB says all his favorites was in the 70s. Oh, look at this. Ron Ward says ugly Pontiac 80s cannot be discussed properly without cussing out the abomination known as the 4.9 301 CID with a feedback Rochester.
Careful now. You're
It's been discussed now. We don't have to cover it anymore.
okay. So in the 80s, growing up, I had the picture of the Lamborghini Countach and the Ferrari F40 hanging on my wall. I believe those was from the late 80s.
I had the Lamborghini that was painted up to look like a police car, and the Highway Patrol that she was wearing the blue top with the badge and the little short bottom. Yeah,
I know
that's
the
what I
picture.
had on my wall. Yeah, you know. Anyone from the 80s knows that picture. It was quite good. And I had Samantha Fox.
Oh, Mongrels nailed it. 89 Turbo Trans Am.
Just
Ford.
just squeaked in there.
See, we had the Buick Grand National in the 80s. We had the 89 Turbo Trans Am. I mean, there was some good cars in the 80s.
There was. You got the Trans Am. Sunbird was a cool car.
Some of them.
Look at this. You got a Grand Prix.
I like the Grand Prix.
BRG. We all had that poster. Yes, we did. If you were around in the 80s, you had that poster or Samantha Fox or, somebody similar, but it's pretty much what you had on the wall because that's what Walmart sold. Hunter, we covered that Sunbird, and the Sunbird's a pretty interesting car the way it evolved, but yeah, it was it's a special car. The
Jason,
Yugo, that's
yeah,
not even a Pontiac. We're talking Pontiacs.
that's not even a country anymore.
It really isn't. I don't think we missed anybody else, but yeah, I agree, Jeff. That's a cool car, and we might mention it tonight because we are talking about the ugly 80s
Whew.
with the beautiful 1982 Pontiac T1000 representing right there on the screen.
The 1980s, where big hair, lots of hairspray, mullets,
Hey, I'm working on my mullet. I'm getting ready for No Name.
the blue jean jackets, the stonewashed jeans. I mean,
And by the late 80s, early 90s, you could, pinch and roll up your jeans so they were tight at the bottom. I wouldn't say whether or not I did that. Oh man, Lars in with the oh no, I missed it. Where'd it go? There it is. JB had the Richard Simmons poster. Lucky.
Okay. Sweat to the 80s.
Yeah. Yes, he did. They put the old iron dork in the T1000. It probably would have weighed as much as the car. They couldn't do that. Oh, we got 38 POS Racing in the chat, trying to grab people as they come in here. I think that was the newest one. Oh, we got Rajcam 80.
He's building a cool Le Mans.
Yep, I think I got everybody caught up. All right, guys, let's talk a little bit about the ugly 80s.
Oh, we got Streetcar Chronicles just snuck in
Oh,
here on us.
welcome, Ryan. Ed's machine made it. All right, guys, keep rolling in. We're going to go ahead and start talking about this. So, for those of you that weren't born in the 80s, or for those of you that maybe don't quite remember the 80s. I mean, I'm not going to assume to know what you were doing because I was still a kid. But in the 80s, Pontiac had this desire. They wanted to bust into the 80s with the newfound excitement. Let me get to that real quick. Yeah, a success story in the making. I'm telling you.
I think that's stretching it.
Yeah, we were trying to determine if this is the early 80s, Trans Am, or if it's an actual Pontiac Phoenix. And I'm kind of thinking, if you guys look right down the middle, that's pretty much a Pontiac Phoenix. And that is one ugly, ugly car. But Pontiac, they wanted to come in and build the excitement. They wanted to, bring the pressure, more fuel efficient cars to the market, but they also had to save some cost. So they wanted to build the excitement with some, flashy looking cars, some cool interiors, but then they were stifled by cost cutting, fuel efficiency. And basically we got a whole bunch of cars throughout the entire decade that were either rebodied or rebadged versions of their Chevy counterpart or some GM counterpart. So, some of these cars are memorable. Like we already saw in the chat, a lot of guys remember a lot of the 80s cars. Most of them aren't. Like there's people in the chat that aren't ever going to even know what half of them are. But we're going to talk about the ones that are not, because if we just talk about the ones that are memorable, everybody already knows. So we're going to hit the high points about some of these cars that most of you guys may not remember. Hasselhoff rules. Do you guys watch that, burger eating debacle? I still like him as Michael Knight. It'll be okay.
He was on SpongeBob too.
Yes, he was. Yep.
Ed's machine snuck in here.
Yep, I saw that earlier.
Oh, okay. Maybe I just thought I missed him.
Nah, he's always hanging out. All right, guys. So the Pontiac T1000. Does everybody know what that really is?
A Chevette.
It's a Chevette. So the Pontiac T1000, they introduced it in the spring of 81 for both U.S. and Canadian markets. It shared basically everything with the Chevette. It had a chrome center, black trimmed grille, headlight buckets, standard chrome trim on the windows. Really, they're just the Chevette with the Pontiac grill in them, which was actually pretty smart to just make it so easy to switch out. But the Canadian version, they got the Acadian or the T1000, which they later just named the 1000. But they got that from 81 to 85. But the 81, it offered a diesel engine option, which in this time of saving fuel, that was their idea of, switching it up and giving you another option.
The only plus to that car is its rear wheel drive.
This is true. So if you do something cool to really a Chevette or a Acadian in Canada or a T1000 here in the States, I think you could tub that sucker out and throw a big block under it, and the engine would weigh more than the car.
I seen a few back in the Pro Street days in the 90s where they had more tire than car. Of course, if we're being honest, a 235/15 would look huge under the back of that car.
This is true. Absolutely. So, and yes, I did say big block because that's ridiculous. Like that's what we do.
Okay, are you talking about Chevettes or Corvettes? Because you could go out and tell a girl, "Hey, I own a Vet," and then you didn't technically lie to her.
Roll up in the Chevette.
Chevette, yeah.
Yep. They's 12s, but I keep them clean. That's how that rolls. So anyway, back to this diesel option engine. It's a 1.8 liter Isuzu unit coupled with the 5-speed from Isuzu, a whopping 51 horsepower. and it wasn't even available with air conditioning. It's got the steel wheels with the center caps. Um, you know, they've got this new ECU feedback on the gasoline engines, electronic spark timing used after 81. There's just so many little things that they did to it to try to increase the fuel economy or kind of sneak by the fuel economy standards. And it really, it was a short-term fix. Now, if you really wanted to haul the kids around, we didn't have the giant cars of the 70s anymore. So they had to swap it out with some other options. And so came the Pontiac 6000. That's your mid-size automobile manufactured by Pontiac from, 82 through the 90s. 2-door, 4-door, and 5-door wagon. So one of these as a wagon wouldn't be so bad. I mean, me personally, I'd probably rock it, but then again, I drive garbage, so it's okay. But it was the shared front-wheel drive platform, same as the Cutlass and the Century, and of course this Chevrolet Celebrity, which I think a lot of people don't remember the Celebrity.
My parents had one.
So did mine. I kind of liked it, but then my mom graduated up to a Pontiac, and maybe that's where I've had a found love of Pontiac. I'm not sure. I definitely liked the Pontiac.
You was not a celebrity driving a celebrity, I can assure you.
No. But then again, it wasn't a vet when you're driving a Chevette either.
Okay, so Danny Boy said the Celebrity Eurosport, and those was actually kind of cool.
I did not throw that in this video because it's a Chevy Celebrity, but you guys look it up on your own. It is kind of a neat one. Pontiac doesn't really have a counterpart to that, or we would have been talking about it.
Right.
So the 6000 was manufactured in Ontario, Canada, and let's see. The 6000 in 1984 led Pontiac sales with the production. It had 122,000 that year and was the last Pontiac to carry a numeric designation. The 6000 was had a sporty variant marketed as the 6000 STE. There she is. That's the sporty version. Woo. And actually, it was named Car and Driver 10 Best 3 times from 83 to 85.
Yeah, but
so it made the top 10.
What did you really have in the 80s to compete with?
I'm just saying, somebody paid off Car and Driver because that car was in it 3 times. So, as part of the legacy of the 6000 and any of the other A bodies, and once they become enormous, more popular than they were, it's apparent that you just take one car and you rebadge it, put a different grill on it, and kick it out. But I think it was Forbes magazine kind of recognized GM for taking these cars and basically making an example of generalized or generic uniformity and just trying to embarrass GM and saying, hey, how can you take the same exact car and just switch the badge out and call it a different car? So Forbes kind of gave him a call out, and that kind of made GM dig a little deeper into, redesign and making a little more effort in designing cars. So if you think about that, that was in 83, and in 84, they kind of kicked up a notch. So by 84, they were in the midst of a resurgence as the division began to reassert itself, trying to become the performance brand. We build excitement. And to do that, they had that 6000 STE, which is the special touring edition. And it was introduced in 83 and, rolled into 84 model year. And that had a high output version of the 2.8 liter V6, not to be confused with JB's Little Shop's high output 2.8 liter V6. His got a little more kick to it. But This car sported a 2-barrel carb. It delivered 135 horsepower rather than the usual 112 horse. So you got to give it to them. They were at least trying to do something different versus just kicking out the same old garbage that Forbes called them out on. They were competing with, which is crazy to me, but they were trying to compete with BMW and Audi, Toyota, Nissan. And, this Pontiac used way older technology than those cars were at the time. But they were trying to grab that excitement, that younger group. And throughout the 80s, they actually dropped about 10 years off of their average owner. So from the 40s down into the 30s. So you got, dads and moms who weren't quite kids yet anymore and not quite old guys like us. And they were picking up these Pontiacs in that time frame. That car you're looking at right there, the 6000 STE 84, offered a digital gauge cluster with the old bar graph tack. Those are just super quality and they never break.
Right.
But you could also get the driver's information center. It would let you know about any malfunctions with the lights or the doors, any tune-up recommendations, tire rotations. It was kind of a, catch-all computer that made you falsely believe it was actually keeping track of the car. And by 84, Road and Track named the 6000 STE one of the top 12 enthusiast cars. What the reason why we're mentioning this car is, who really knows what this car is? Like, how many in the chat actually know about the 6000 STE and how it was kind of dominating the car world as a sedan?
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. I didn't know a lot about them. I knew about the Pontiac 6000, but the STE, I didn't really know a lot about. I was like, what?
Okay, Mongrels is getting a little queasy, so let's go ahead and move on. This should help him out greatly.
That ain't any better.
All right, so now we're jumping into the Pontiac 2000 Sunbird. So by 82, the rear-wheel drive was replaced by a new front-wheel drive compact. We called it the J2000. And of course, it graduated out of that name over time, but it appeared as a sedan, a coupe, a wagon, or a hatchback. It was powered by a carbureted overhead valve, cast iron, 1.8 liter 4-cylinder. Wow. That thing powered up at 88 horsepower. And now during that year, the engine joined the new 1.8, a single overhead cam unit with an aluminum head imported from Brazil. Ooh, exotic.
It does have the headlight shape of the 77, 78 Trans Am, though.
And if you notice, that tried to mirror that look, but they pulled it off better with the Sunbird. Flat tires and misfires, born in 84. I don't believe that at all.
Jay says,
oh no. Oh no. Well, just remember you're on Punisher Lamont's Garage channel, not Buff's Garage. So stay tuned on my channel.
Hey, that's
actually,
right.
I know. I'm just kidding. Stay tuned to all of them. But if I refresh here, I am. Oh, wow. I'm 12 away from 3,000 subscribers, guys. So if you've already subbed me in the chat, thank you. I appreciate it. If you haven't, please give me a sub. I could use 1 or 2 more, or 12. I'd love to hit 3,000 soon. For no other reason, just to say I hit 3,000. I couldn't bat 3,000, whatever that means, because I'm not a sports guy. Oh, that Fiero guy wants a turbo. What was that?
Turbo Sunbird tack.
Yeah,
it's got the boost gauge built into it.
Yeah, we're I don't have one of those.
Yeah,
I got the digital thing on my 898 Grand Prix, and it'll say boost, and it's like, there ain't no way you're firing on 3 of your 6 cylinders. You are not under boost. Let's see.
Gauge.
Yeah, well, Your car has real boost too. All right, where were we? J2000. So this sucker it graduated to a throttle body electronic fuel injection, which we just loved about those 80s cars. It was initially only available in conjunction with an auto transmission because I don't think people really knew how to drive a manual. They definitely don't really know now. So you see the J2000 kind of shared that body with the Cavalier, the Oldsmobile Firenze, and Skyhawk, and even the Cadillac Cimarron, which was a horrible Cadillac, but they all shared the same platform. And would you believe that this car, the 82 J2000 LE sedan, was $7,548,
No.
which would be $21,000 in today's money. Like, that seems pretty affordable in today's market.
Have you seen
I
the
feel
car
like-
I drive daily? That's
Right,
probably better.
but I'm looking at some of the stuff that's out on the market now, and it's almost like you can't touch a new car for less than 40 grand, especially in today's market. Oh, let's see. By 83, they dropped the J, and it was just the 2000. They were trying to market it as a smaller version of the 6000, which, of course, had a lot of success. They added a 5-speed manual in 83, reclining buckets. Let's see. And they made a convertible version called the 2000 Sunbird, which was also new for 83. And it was kind of the first Pontiac convertible since 75. Because if you guys remember several shows ago, we talked about the 75 Pontiac Granville being the last Pontiac convertible until we hit the Sunbird. Of course, later you could get some Firebird, Trans Am, mostly Firebirds convertibles, but those were all done after the fact. All right, so the big news about this car that I really wanted to highlight is they ended up grabbing the opportunity to take this little smaller car, again, trying to market it as a smaller 6000. All right, Mongols, it's going to be okay. You got to get through this. It's the 80s. We all went through this. Well, the ones that were born.
I lived it, man.
Well, Shopcat made it.
You did
As
good.
long as you're not saying we're not talking about Pontiac Power Hour, because we definitely are. All right, I'm catching up. All right, so I want to talk about this car. This car is actually really cool. So if you don't know what it is, it's basically that Pontiac Sunbird in a 2-door configuration with a convertible top. And this particular model is the GT model, and it featured fender flares, turbo engine. I mean, it's just truly a cool car. The GT sedan, not the one pictured, but a sedan, is very rare with only 5,000 of them sold. And the convertible, which is in this picture, is the rarest version with only 1,300 sold. And it had the 1.8 liter 4-cylinder turbo in them. That is a very rare car. And to look at it, you'd think, somebody aftermarket painted that. No, that is the factory original paint on that car. These were trying to be a sporty car. You can even see the hood louvers, up on the hood there. That's, I guess, to let the turbo breathe. I don't know.
Who knows?
Dissipate that heat out. If you ever need to do that with the Punisher car, I saw somebody take the floor grills for your, AC and heater in your house.
No.
And they cut the hole. Because then you can directional,
There is a rumor that my other hood will have vents in it. and I'm not going to tell anybody what they're out of.
Well, hopefully they're floor vents out of an AC system. That would be hilarious.
No, they are from a car.
Yes, Jeffro, you are correct. Because I remember my mother had one of those cars, not a Sunbird. She had a Grand Am with those same wheels.
I think
I always thought those were really cool.
Every Pontiac had a variation of those wheels, I think.
They were pretty popular. All right, let's keep going. All right, now, I know this is going to, if you've just eaten or you're a little queasy in the stomach, you might want to take a moment, maybe look away. Pete Pullen, welcome. I haven't seen you here before, so welcome to the show. All right, take a moment. This is not the Le Mans that we're used to.
It's definitely not the Punisher.
Woo! So by 88, Pontiac finally revived the Le Mans nameplate, thinking that was going to be a good idea. And they wanted to replace the Pontiac 1000 because it was that small version. And to do so, they kind of nabbed this car from Daewoo out of South Korea. And so again, yeah, I know, guys. I'm sorry.
We're gonna lose subscribers. This was my idea for the show.
It's a great idea. The ugly 80s. It has to be addressed, kind of like we're still gonna do a whole episode on concept cars just for Hunter. It's coming. Hunter, we have been looking all over the internet to find every one of these concept cars, and it's just for you, buddy. All right, where were we? So they jumped into this and decided they got to make this, fuel efficient, front wheel drive, basically ugly car. They imported this thing from South Korea, called it the hatchback Aero Coupe. In this venture with Daewoo, it took the two companies to build this factory looking Pontiac, even though it's just a Daewoo with a different grill in it. And, wow. You know what? We're done with this one.
They had a hatchback version of it too.
They did. And we're going to we got to be done. Oh, did we jumped ahead here?
I don't know what you
did. We went back in time, I think. Yeah, for sure we did. Oh, wait, here we go. That's what we're talking about. Okay. So, yeah. I kind of skipped over the Phoenix for a minute because I'm sorry, it was so hideous, and having personally owned one, I just didn't want to look at it. I'll be honest, I couldn't.
Bad memory.
So I had a Chevelle, 68 Chevelle as my first car, and my father got upset because he thought I was, going to hurt myself, or he used the excuse that it was bad on gas mileage and encouraged me to sell it, which I'd never wanted to do, but he encouraged me to sell it. And he shows up one day with this Pontiac Phoenix. It was sky blue, about the ugliest car. Basically rolling birth control is what it was. It was just never going to happen for me in that car. So it didn't make the photo, but look it up, Pontiac Phoenix, ugly car. And then they made a really small version, a compact version of it too, which is no better at all. So we're just going to skip it because I don't even want to look at it. But know that it existed and it was ugly. All right. So by 1985, Pontiac pulled that Grand Am name. And like I showed you guys, that was a Grand Am, right? That's a big 70s cool car. This is not. But they brought it back anyway. So it's a compact car. I guess, it's got the front wheel drive platform out of the Buick, like the Skylark and the Oldsmobile Calais. So the Grand Am was originally available in the base and the LE trims. It had that 2.5 liter Tech 4 engine, which we all know as the Iron Duke. And you could eventually get a 3.0 Buick V6 optional, and you can get a 5-speed manual and a 3-speed automatic.
They had the quad 4 Oldsmobile motor in them too.
Did they eventually?
Eventually, yeah.
All
that
right.
May have been
Well,
in the 90s, but the Grand
yeah,
Am,
I think they did grow up later, but in the 80s, they kind of stuck with that smaller platform. But the V6 did add a little bit more pep, especially when it's paired with the auto transmission. It was able to get up and go better.
oh, hey, look, it's got the same wheels on it.
It has the same wheels. Yep. My mother had one that exact color, but I think hers was a 90s because it had the rounded front versus the squared off front.
All I know is those things overheated and broke down all the time.
Well, there was a lot of them on the road. There might still be a few on the road. Just depends on how well they were taken care of. And
Oh, I
quite
thought you were
honestly,
going to say the tow truck hadn't got them yet.
yeah, they pretty much all were not taken care of and are probably all rust buckets. However, by 87 and in the Grand Am, you could actually grab a turbocharged 4-cylinder engine that they took out of that Sunbird GT. They had a 2-liter turbo engine that was the base for the SE model in 87. And cars with turbo engine received a turbo boost gauge in place of the voltmeter. So a test by Popular Mechanics for a quarter-mile acceleration with the turbo engine and a 5-speed manual took it 15.73 seconds in the quarter and 16:02 with an automatic transmission. But they also said there was large amounts of torque steer from the dead stop.
That's faster than my 86 GT Mustang I had in high school.
So, for our Grand Am, it did okay. Yeah. So here's the penned version, and Ray and I both think this looks a lot like a Buick versus the Pontiac. I get what they were going for, but I think it kind of looks like a Buick more than the Grand Am.
Yeah.
Oh, look at that. That was even quicker than his Chevette Auto was.
I could run.
Oh, look at that. That's almost as fast as the Polo C4.
Yeah.
I'm thinking he needs some boost. I mean, what do you got to lose? Just an engine.
I think we should throw some nitrous on it. I'm just saying.
100 shot easy. For sure. What's Danny Boyd said? His ma had an 86 Calais with the Tech 4. All right, so we got guys in memory lane here. They're remembering these cars. All right. So the next thing we got to talk about are the ones that we talked about, the ones we don't like. Or even if we do like them, we don't like them a lot. They're ugly and you won't see them. Just nobody has them. So let's look at the ones we do like. And I'm a little biased, and I understand that. I'm okay. I'm a little biased. So because I am the owner of a 3rd-gen Trans Am, I kind of put, a little priority on this car. And they are not the most popular version of the Firebird or Trans Am. But in my household, they are the best version because it's the one I got. So if you take the GM F-body from 82 up into, 90s, they re-engineered the entire body of this car. Their goal was to not only make it handle and perform, but also do so with the knowledge that we're going to have gasoline being an issue or fuel consumption in general. So that's where I think they really failed the cars, but they tried to balance it out. So this new package with the strut suspension and the full unibody frame, this thing was supposed to have a well-balanced acceleration, braking, handling, and even aerodynamics. Like this car, this whole series of F-body, they really put a lot of effort in. And just to prove it, I mean, look at this thing.
Yeah, that's a beautiful car.
That is mullet flying, just beer cans out the window, just awesome. This car is just sweet. It's not probably everybody's favorite version, but it's the 80s version that I love. Because quite
I will.
honestly, past 79, I didn't really care for the Firebird or Trans Am because I think they got ugly in 80 and 81 and 80 and 81.
I will say that the Pontiacs had really cool steering wheels and dashes and stuff in the 80s.
And that goes back to that we build excitement part of Pontiac. They were trying to at least give the driver a visceral experience. It had to look, it had to act and sound like it was a muscle car, even if it wasn't. But that was the goal. They wanted you to get in and feel like you were in something that was race inspired. So a lot of times you'd see those dashes that were kind of gray silver, and then they had the crisscross pattern on them, and then the gauges were almost always backlit red. They just wanted to grab your attention and make you feel like you were in a really cool car. So by 82, like I said, they completely redesigned the F body. That windshield slope is cleared out at 62 degrees. And it's the steepest one that GM's ever tried at that point. They had never gone further up to that point. And of course, other than a few exceptions, they had this large glass rear hatchback, which quite honestly, as a third gen owner, is kind of a pain in the tail. But it did have that. And there's no metal supporting that glass. It is just glass with the two props that come up.
Pain in the back of the head if those shocks fail.
Yep. Somebody was telling me they're jealous of my struts because my hatch is up on mine. I do have new struts, but they're not on it. That's a broom handle sticking up. But this car did come, other than its, the Camaro counterpart did not have pop-up headlights, but the Firebirds and Trans Am had pop-up headlights. And of course, that was a pretty popular feature then. And basically, they were trying to edge out the Camaro and even some of the other cars with that style, that race characteristic, that this is a muscle car.
Blake, if you want to make one any other day but Thursday at 8, we'll watch it.
Absolutely. I would absolutely support a Plymouth Power Hour. If we could do a Power Hour for every make and model, that would be fine. We just happened upon the fact that we own Pontiacs, so therefore here we are. And it just makes for an easier show to target one manufacturer. All right, so going back to this third gen, this car went through an extensive redesign. They cut out 500 pounds out of the body and the chassis. They put it through the wind tunnels, of course, sloped that windshield back. They really just kind of went nuts with this car and actually made that rear spoiler functional. It actually did something. It wasn't just a pretty thing sticking up. The third gens really made an effort to bring in the excitement for Pontiac when the rest of their car line was kind of failing. Now, they're doing their job. It just they weren't building excitement, isn't it? And that's what they were all about in the 80s was Pontiac. We build excitement.
I noticed, but of course, I gotta say something real quick.
All right.
ASO said Ford Hour, but he didn't say Ford Power Hour because power and Ford does not go in the same sentence.
And the only thing you'd be doing in the Ford Hour is like pushing your car, like
mechanic tips.
Yeah. Yeah. This is the best shoes to wear when you're pushing your Ford down the road. Get the arch support. It's really helpful for your back. All right, so here's the problem with the third gens, and I'm only going to just breeze over it. Basically, you got a cool car, but they've got choked down power plants, poor quality interior materials. You end up with broken, cracked dashes, broken, window cranks. If you most of them had it. They weren't all powered, and really, the interior just felt cheap. It looked cool, but it didn't have quality materials like they had before or after. It's just the 80s interiors were just kind of not very resilient.
Danny Boyd hit it too. It didn't have dual exhaust, and they was really hard to put any sort of aftermarket exhaust on because they made it so small. You could do like 3-inch, but you had to run the oval. Otherwise, it hung down and you ripped it off on every speed bump. I know.
Yeah, so for my third gen, it'll be open exhaust. It's open. All right, who doesn't love this car? I mean, we do. We did a whole episode on this thing.
Yeah, I have one in my garage.
You do. So who doesn't love it? So, I mean, at least one person in the chat likes them. I know that. But personally, I've owned one. I know several people have owned one or at least been in one. So, these cars were just a different thing. Like they really were. They were their own thing that just kind of stood out. And it was the best engineered car that never actually got built. Because what ended up getting built was, truly, it was like the AMC of Pontiac. They just went, well, here's part of this car that's the front wheel drive car. And we're going to shove it under the back of the Fiero and call that rear wheel drive. And then, we're going to take this engine and move it a little bit forward, but we have no room for gas tanks. So let's just shove that where the drive shaft would go. Oh, wait, it caught on fire. Never mind. Let's move this over here. Yeah, by the time they got this car right, which in my opinion is that car right there, it's beautiful. By the time they got it right, they discontinued it because of poor sales.
That car is sweet looking.
And it's unfortunate because they finally got the thing right. The car is a runner. It has its own suspension. It's finally got an engine that puts out decent power. It's a cool car. And quite frankly, if they were able to make that next generation of Fiero like they had planned, I think it would have really stepped up and brought some competition to the MR2 and even the Corvette.
I really believe the Corvette. I'm just saying.
The Banshee, ooh.
Because the Corvette really didn't get good until, like the whole 80s was Then you get to like the C5 Corvette, then they got good. So that probably would have done better.
Look at this one. Pete Pullen. He had a buddy's dad who put a 454 in a Fiero. Got to put that $100 bill on the dash. And hopefully you don't flip the car over. But before we hit trivia, I want to talk about this 86 Grand Prix 2+2, not to be confused with the Aero Coupe. Just because they look like an Aero Coupe, Pontiac never used the term Aero Coupe. So it basically, they took the body, they had to make so many of these cars because they wanted it to be a NASCAR. And to be a NASCAR, you got to build so many of them. So they had the Monte Carlo SS Aero Coupe. And then you had the Pontiac 2+2. So it came with a composite aero nose, the bubble rear glass, and a fiberglass trunk lid with an integrated spoiler. They all came with the corporate 305 cubic inch, 4-barrel engine, a 4-speed auto, two-tone paint. They all basically looked the exact same striping. They had rally wheels. This car was basically built just so they could put it in NASCAR. So there's not a lot of them out there. But it is, in my opinion, one of the cooler 80s Pontiacs that they had. Very limited production.
And there's something about this picture that I will point out. This car has the blue dots in the taillights.
Yeah, that's not factory. Rusty Wallace. So really, it's a rare car. If you actually see the Pontiac Grand Prix version, snag it up if you can. Nothing against the Monte Carlo. Those are cool and rare as well. But Pontiac, I think, just is a little bit cooler, just in my opinion.
Everybody loves a G-body.
Of course. And with that, guys, I feel like we've kind of beat on the 80s Pontiacs enough. We can always come back and talk just about specific ones, but we kind of wanted to just skim the surface of the uglier cars. But I didn't want to leave you with a bad taste in your mouth, so we had to hit kind of the cool ones too. All right, Danny Boyd's bringing out the trivia on the 2+2.
You know, that's back when actually NASCAR was cool though, because they actually used cars instead of every car being the same.
Basically, the same race chassis with a skin on it. What does he say? Now Polo C4 wants an 80s Pontiac. Yeah, so go get one, man. Find one, build it up, make it cool. I figured out that I actually am going to try to save up money for the next probably 2 years to build an actual race chassis, because the Pontiac Aztec race chassis vehicle is happening. And I've already got it figured out. And I've set it here so nobody steal my idea. It's going to be a Pontiac Aztec on a full race chassis. The engine will be pulled back so that you got to cut out the windshield, right? And I'm going to name it Breaking Bad.
I know a fab guy that can weld really well.
Yeah, so we're going to build a race chassis. We're going to put like a $10,000 engine in it, and we're going to build the Breaking Bad Aztec. It's going to happen.
Badass.
But with that, stand by. It is trivia time, guys. Pontiac Trivia sponsored by Super Clean. As always, we appreciate Super Clean sponsoring our show and giving out a prize pack to either our guest or, the lucky person in the audience. So, as always, we kick through the trivia, and you guys are going to put your answers down in the chat. And, I guess that way in the chat, wherever, just put it in the chat. And as we go through, we'll see who has the best answers. And, it's kind of like whose line is it anyway, where the points don't matter and nobody's really paying attention. So somebody is going to win.
Well, we know it won't be Hunter unless he cheats off somebody.
He changes his answers too much.
I know.
All right, guys. What 80s show made the third gen Trans Am a market hit? And this is a true statement. It was right around the time that Pontiac was seeing an uptick in the Trans Am. So was it Smokey and the Bandit? Was it Knight Rider? Was it Airwolf? Who remembers that show? That was a cool show. Or The Fall Guy. I loved The Fall Guy. That was a great show.
Airwolf had Jan Michael Vincent in it. He was cool as hell.
Absolutely. But The Fall Guy had Lee Majors.
True. And he had a cool ass lifted square body.
No. And if you actually talk to John Wilburn, he knows a lot about the Fall Guy truck, like a ridiculous amount. So it's fun to talk to John Wilburn about Fall Guy because he knows a lot about it.
Oh, yeah. Blue Thunder, too. That was also a good show.
Yep. Look at this. We've got a lot of answers, and they all are sticking to the B. Everybody is sticking with B. But guess what? It is B. So Knight Rider used and actually this was a pretty cool trick. When they were trying to get Knight Rider made, they came up and they had a different car in mind. Let's just put it that way. And Pontiac came up and said, hey, we got a car for your show. We're going to put two of these brand new cars. This was in the early 80s, before 82. We got two of these cars. They're going to be in the parking lot with the keys in them. And Pontiac never endorsed its use on the show and would not agree to anything. But somebody at Pontiac said, hey, we're going to do this anyway. And they literally drove two black Trans Ams into the parking lot and left them. And the show producer showed up, picked up the cars, built them into this kit car. And Michael Chaffee is the one who actually redesigned the car for the show. Except for the, what do you call it? The turbo boost mode whatever it was called. That one was special built, but the rest of them were all Michael Chaffee. What is this? I have a picture of me sitting in one. Yeah, so do I. I've sat in the Knight Rider that was in Universal Studios Hollywood. Hunter knows. Pointed trivia in the chat. Who was the voice of Knight Rider? The actual car. Not the new show. The original voice of Kit. Anybody?
I should know this.
You should know this. He was in a lot of TV shows. All right. While you guys are thinking of that, who's the voice of Kit? And you can Google it because it's not in the thing. Who originally penned the design for the Pontiac Fiero? I'm looking at you, that Fiero guy. Who originally designed it? Was it Pete Estes and Jim Wangers, Bunky Knudsen, George Millidrag and Hokie Aldo, I can't even say that name, Alda Cacti, or John DeLorean himself? Ralph Nader. It was not Ralph Nader. All right, we got some answers popping up. We got A. We got A. Blake says John DeLorean because he wasn't making his own car by then. We got A and D.
His car wasn't as cool as the Fiero, though.
Oh, we got a winner. It was not Morgan Freeman. It was William Daniels. He was the Knight Rider, the Kit voice in the TV show Knight Rider. How they got him to be the voice is beyond me, but it wouldn't have been the same if it wasn't William Daniels. All right, we've got a lot, just everywhere. C, A, D, C, E, Nathan's Mopar Garage. By the way, for those of you that won T-shirts or have purchased merch, I just want to apologize. I have had things packed up and boxed and sitting on my counter, and I stupidly waited until this last week to mail everything out. What I didn't realize is the post office actually raised their rates last Sunday. So what cost me $4 or $5 to ship now costs me $9 or $10 to ship. But I did not take any extra from anybody. I just paid out of pocket and got everybody's merch sent out. So if you want a T-shirt or you purchase something from me, everything went out today. So thank you for waiting. But it's been a busy one, and it cost me some money. So I punished myself. All right. So what's the answer? It is C. And this was the original drawings and the mock-up concept they made of the Pontiac Fiero. I actually like it with the quarter window and everything. That's pretty cool. All right, next question, guys. In 1982, what was the horsepower rating of the fuel-injected Iron Duke named the Tech 4? Is it 58 horse, 77 horse, 90 horse, or 103 whopping horsepower? Yes, Hunter, I would agree, except by 86, 87, I think the Fiero kind of finally morphed into what they originally had the idea. I thought I saw Mr. Polo. I haven't seen that they shipped it yet, but I do know they got their email. So usually they say, hey, we'll get it shipped out, and then they ship it out whenever. Since it's not something that we're paying for, I don't get a tracking number or anything. But it'll get to you, I promise. All right, lots of answers. C's, D's, Flat Tires Mythfire says E, all of the above. Let's just see which one it is. It was C, 90 horsepower. Woo! Yeah, they were fitted with that wonderful throttle body injection, which is a single injector. I happen to own one of these in my S10, and it was way underpowered. And to say it had 90 horses, probably a stretch, but that's what it said. All right, looks like Flat Tires and Misfires got his super clean pack, and Mr. Polo C4, since you just won yours, it's gonna probably be the next time, probably next week. Oh, Big Block 402. Welcome, sir. Okay, in the 80s, the Pontiac J2000, 2000, and later called the Sunbird, it featured a turbocharged engine and what other popular 80s feature? Was it hidden headlights, a digital dash, rear window louvers, or gull wing doors? Because, you got to have gull wing doors on your Sunbird.
That'd be kind of cool, actually.
Yeah, especially in the convertible because it would just flap.
It'd be no doors. It'd be a Jeep thing.
It would be. All right. We got a bunch of answers in the chat. A lot of people saying digital dash, but the answer is technically they were mostly hidden headlights. But you could see just a sliver of the headlight, and then the actual doors would pop up to reveal the headlights. Pop up and down headlights. That's the right answer. All right, guys, here is the technical question of the night. In 1981, Pontiac advertised their new electronic engine control system to satisfy CAFE regulations and control your engine. What did they name it? What was it? A, the Electro Command Unit, B, the Night Industry 2000, C, the Pontiac Power Control Unit, or D, the Computer Command Control? Oh, yeah. Pete Poland, he knows the half pop-ups. They were mostly hidden. All right. Danny Boyd says D. Shopcat says D. Sand Mountain says B because Knight Rider, hello.
That he doesn't know anything about fuel injection.
No, he's a carb guy, and that's just fine. We like carbs too. Big Block says D. And yes, USPS and the government, yes, they pretty much doubled what it costs to ship something. And I'm trying my best not to pass that cost on to anyone else. But when you win something for free, it costs me almost $10 to mail it. So just appreciate the gift, and you're welcome. I'm glad to do it. I appreciate everybody watching. Lots of answers all over the place. We got A's and C's and D's and more D's and C's. And the answer is D, Computer Command Control. They even came up with this more Pontiac know-how to the gallon, this super computer looking logo that you see on your screen there. They really wanted to add cool features like, more efficient running engine and, of course, satisfy the CAFE regulations. And, of course, a check engine light, because that's what we want to see. That's what I always see when I drive my Pontiacs is the check engine light. So what do you guys think about the ugly Pontiacs? Was that a fun episode for you? It's not as fun as maybe Mike Finnegan, but I think it was a lot of interesting information. And as always, we want to thank Super Clean for sponsoring our Pontiac Power Hour trivia. These guys have been excellent. They love our partnership. And for that, we're going to pick a winner. And I am seeing the best answers personally out of the Big Block 402 channel. So Big Block 402, hit me up with your address. You're going to win a Super Clean prize pack straight to your door, straight from Super Clean.
Hey, just a Cam 80. Hey,
yeah.
shoot me an email with your address. I want to send you some stuff for your car.
Oh, where's he at? I saw him pop up. There he is. That guy right there?
Yep.
All right. Did you catch that? Send him the email. Not me. Don't send me the email. Send him the email. What is your email for him? Or do you just want to head him up on Instagram or
I think
Facebook?
He's friends with me on Facebook or whatever. Just
all right.
Send me a message and I want to send something to you for your car that I found.
All right, Steven at Big Block 402, hit me up with your address. I'm going to send it into Super Clean, and they're going to send you out a prize pack. And with that, we are just over 9 o'clock. Do you have anything to add today?
I don't think so. Thanks for stopping by, guys, hanging out with us as usual.
Yep. And let us know what you want us to talk about. We've got more topics. We've got more guests coming, but we wanted to kind of shake it up and do a little, something different today. And I think we pulled it off. So
And let
hang in
us,
there.
one more
Go ahead.
thing, let us know
Yeah.
if you guys think we should come up with some Pontiac Power Hour merch.
That is a great question. We're going to go over just a little bit to talk about that. If you guys want to see Pontiac Power Hour merch, because you can always support Ray and I through, buying merch or super chats, anything like that. But if you want to see Pontiac Power Hour merch, we will design it. We will have it made. Actually, working with Perpetual Projects, they are working on screen printing out of their own shop. And if they could help us out, we could put together some merch, some hats, some shirts, whatever you guys want to see. And if you want to see it, we'll put it together. We can offer it up as prizes, but we'd like to see you purchase it so we can keep doing shows. Let us know what you think. Put it in the comments. And yeah, we catch you guys on the next one.
All right. Thanks, guys. Have a good weekend.